Hello, my friends. It is Jennifer McCollum here, business coach for parent coaches and founder of the Parent Coach Club. And if you are considering homeschooling, you're going to want to listen in today because I have Cindy Brown with me, who is the family consultant for homeschoolers. Hello, Cindy.
Hi, how are you?
Wonderful. And I'm so glad you're here because I can't tell you how many times that I've waffled back and forth. Should I homeschool? Shouldn't I? So I'm really excited to talk with you today about some of the things that you help new homeschoolers really tackle before they start homeschooling, or maybe they're into homeschooling and still need to tackle these things.
Yeah, and actually homeschooling has so many different definitions now. So, the basic is if you do engaging activities with your child, even if they go to public school, you're homeschooling in a sense. But we know that we have online programs, we have hybrid programs, we have parents taking it all on, finding the curriculum, making sure the emotional, social needs are met. All those things. So I work with families who are new because it can be very overwhelming. Where to start? What style do I want to do? How much am I going to participate? Do I want to find outside programs? And I just help take that overwhelm off the parent's plate. And let's get down to why are you doing this? What are your goals? And what do you hope to achieve as you move forward?
That is so awesome. This is going to be so helpful for so many people. Okay, so before we get into the teaching part of this, what you want to share with us, tell us how you became a family consultant that specializes in homeschooling. Tell us a little bit about you and your background. Anything you want, tell us so that we know all about Cindy.
Okay. I, right out of college, went into teaching. I was a teacher for 30 years and I served as an instructional coach to educators, did professional development, taught everything from remedial students all the way through profoundly gifted, and really learned about how all kids tell themselves stories, their own mindset. The remedial child feels like they're not good enough, even though parents and teachers and educators were saying, hey, this is going to be the best program for you because we care for you. All they heard was, I'm not good enough. And it's a message that kids carry in their mind, but don't necessarily say out loud. When I was teaching profoundly gifted, they felt the pressure of, well, I'm in gifted, I'm supposed to be right. I'm supposed to have all A's. I'm supposed to always, get it the first time, which isn't real. But again, these are emotions and feelings that kids weren't sharing. So I was seeing how children were taking in their environment and creating stories in their mind. So my focus became on social emotional learning, emotional intelligence, growth mindset. And I started teaching that while I was still in the classroom, and kids understood it. And then I realized parents need this information. So when it came time to retire, I dedicated myself to really educating parents. So I retired and started my business, Polished Parents, immediately. And at that time, it was all coronavirus and everything was online. So it was a slow start because it was a hard reach to get. But I've always wanted to help parents understand the whole package of how we develop our children. Because personally, as an adult, I didn't clearly understand mindset and my moods and all that. So I was an adult. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if kids grew up learning how to overcome mistakes, how to be their own champion, and just end up being confident and independent? So that's the message I infuse as I help parents go through the homeschooling journey to set up their home, to set up their lessons, to decide what activities are good or not the best fit for my family, and really tuning into who your child is as a unique individual, knowing that brother and sister could be two totally different kids, even though you promise on everything that you've given them the same opportunities, because that's what happened to me. I swore my kids were given the same things, but they are completely different.
Wow. So I can see how beneficial this would be to really work with you if you were starting out. But tell me, do you also work with people that are already homeschooling?
Sure, because once you get started, you can always do a refresh. You can always pivot. As your child gets older, their emotions change, their needs change, their interests may change. And sometimes you just have to refresh, or you might discover, I keep doing things as a parent this way because this is my comfort zone. I love writing. So I have my child write about every activity we do. Well, maybe that's not your child's interest. So it's nice to look at your child, each of your children as an individual. What lights them up? What is their learning style? How do they take in information? How do they want to share the information? Because sometimes that is different. And then reflect on yourself as a parent. How do I like to take in information? How do I like to share it? And maybe you're identical with your child, but if you're different, you have to be able to provide opportunities that suits the learning growth of your child. So sure, you can pivot at any time.
You make it sound so easy. And the question that I always have is, how do you really identify what your child's learning style is?
Well, one thing that's really common with homeschooling is breaking the patterns of whatever program they were doing ahead of time. So there's a program, not really a program, a practice called unschooling or deschooling. And an outsider might think, oh, that's just freedom. That's just free choice. But what you're really doing as a parent, you're coming up with as many different variety of activities that you can think of inside your home, outside of your home. It might mean travel or field trips, and just watching. Seeing what lights your child up, seeing what's exciting for them, and maybe start asking them to do some reflective pieces. Hey, would you like to draw a picture about this event we did? Would you prefer to write it? Would you prefer to do, a Facebook Live about it? Whatever sparks your child, depending on their age. And it's just a period of discovering who is this child. And many parents, pulled out of the schools because something just wasn't right. So you need to really dial into what is right for my child. What are their needs? So it actually is easy. And it's really about slowing down, not having the big checklist of, okay, I got to get the second grade book and I have to get the fifth grade history book for my other child. And we're going to make sure we go to the museum on every Wednesday. It's really just pausing and embracing the time you have with your child, learning how to communicate to know how they're authentically feeling and not making assumptions, and really collaborating with your child to have some student-led or child-led activities.
Love that. And I feel like you've just given parents permission to slow down. So thank you very much for
You're
doing
welcome.
that. But also, you've given parents permission to not do everything the same way they've always done it, or what everyone else does, that you can ask your child and to figure out how they learn and what lights them up, to give them options. Like, even when, you were talking about that, I was thinking, well, one of my sons would love to do YouTube videos instead of writing any day.
Yeah.
So just giving me permission to say, yeah, this is how you can homeschool, is build that into it, because that really lights him up and will get him excited about learning. So
Right.
thank
And
you.
of course, and and even like audiobooks. I remember my son didn't like to read. We later discovered he was dyslexic. And I was promoting the audiobooks for my husband's like, that's the lazy way. That's not reading. But for my son, he's a visual thinker. And so by listening, he could visualize everything. And he knew whether it was a fiction book or nonfiction, really exactly what was going on, because he created that in his mind. And sometimes you don't have that opportunity in other schooling situations. And that's the benefit of homeschooling, is it's a one-on-one. What do you exactly need? And you might try something and it might not work. And that's okay, because then you're going to have a conversation about it. What didn't you enjoy about that? Oh, my hand gets tired, or I can't focus. Whatever the authentic, honest reason is, it gives you permission to change it up. And I think that one of the biggest lessons of the pandemic is just, we can't do things the way we used to do it. And a lot of parents, myself included, would think, well, my parents sent me here. My parents always made sure I did that. And it's truly just a different circumstance now. So I'm granting you all permission. Do what you think is best. And if it doesn't work out, reflect on it and just pivot. There's so many different options. And I'm happy to share options or guide you in a certain direction, even if your kids are all linear, same thinkers or different thinkers.
That is amazing. And it kind of leads to my next question of when you're working with parents. So, do you have, like, do you walk them through the process of doing all that? Because you make it sound easy, but I can see now I would go away and kind of think, those are some difficult steps, and where do I start? So, when parents work with you one to one, what does that look like?
Well, it starts with, just me getting to know your family, the age groups, and what is it you want out of this homeschooling experience. And as a parent, you're going to have a little bit of homework yourself. And I have some journal activities to help you get clarity on your home life, your relationships, what school and work for you if you're a working mom or dad doing homeschool, and and taking time to find all that clarity, so and attaching the reasons why do you want it to look this way or feel this way. So that does take some time, and then from there, that unschooling experience, what activities can you do that are going to help you identify, yes, my child is passionate about this, oh no no no, we're never doing that, or and even yourself, what are you able to handle. So it takes time, it might take a few months just to get that part done. But while that's happening, you can also start looking at your house, and do you want it to look like a schoolroom all day long, or are you going to set up procedures and boundaries? By 9 o'clock we're going to set things up, and by this time here's the bins that it goes in, and we're going to clean it up and our house returns to our home. So there's a lot of things to look at. Furniture, some kids like to sit in their chair, and makes them sit up taller. Many kids, especially the youngers, love the stability balls because their feet can actually be on the floor. They're sitting up taller. They get the little wiggles out, but you'll find they can concentrate better. Even the difference between a desk that's at your child's height versus a high counter where maybe they stand, a kid who's wiggling or is a thinker and always tapping their foot might prefer to stand. So there's a lot of things for us to discover from not only the activities, how your child thinks, how your child learns, but your furniture, your layout, what's going to be a good flow, how are you going to stay organized. And it takes time, so give yourself the grace to figure it out, and give yourself time. You're not on a school year if you're homeschooling, right? You can do your schooling on Saturday and Sunday if you prefer. You can do it in the evening, and you can go through summer and take off the winters. So you have so much flexibility. Time is on your side.
Wow, that clears up a lot of questions for me. And I'm not even homeschooling, but now I want to, because really you would help, like, organize my house so
Mhm.
that it's set up for my homeschoolers. That is beautiful. What a service. And I can see that being just really beneficial to reduce that overwhelm for parents as well. Like, one of the questions I have, my kids are in traditional school, just went back, but, one wants to just, like, sit under the table or sit in the living room and do his work there, whereas the other one needs a desk to do it. And there is no, like, one way.
No.
And I love that you are just saying, yeah, like, we'll figure out the equipment you need, the organization that you need, and get you set up. So that, I think, would reduce a lot of stress for parents that are
Yeah, I mean,
wondering.
honestly, being an educator for 30 years, so I had 28 kids each year, and I did my best to individualize everything for them. And so in my classroom, I had a variety of ways to sit, different chair heights, ball chairs, couches, pillows, carpet squares. I had different desk sizes. I had standing desks that even had foot, pedals. So it's almost like my classroom has been a laboratory for me in a
Mhm.
sense, to really understand how children think, what gets them going, what helps them learn. And I felt like it's really, that experience has prepared me for this moment right now, with so many families shifting into homeschool, because there's a lot of little things that even, your trained classroom teacher might not realize, because, they also have a mindset of this is the way it should be. And
Mhm.
that's why I find homeschooling so fun, because you have so many opportunities and there's no timetable. You don't have to race to set it up. You can feel it out and do what is truly authentic to your family, your values, your culture, and most importantly, your children.
I wish we had this as a live Q&A, because I feel like people just on the edge of considering homeschooling or really struggling right now, in their homeschooling situation would have a lot of questions for you. But you have a Facebook group where you have parents in there asking questions all the time and you're answering them and providing training for them, basically. Is
Right.
that right? So tell
Yeah.
us about the Facebook group, because I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to hop in there.
Sure. It's called Homeschooling Polished Parents. And the name came from the fact that I know parents are trying to do their best and everything you need is within you. And I just kind of help buff and shine you up so that that polish comes out so that you can be the best parent possible. And in that group, there's different quotes and mantras, just to, that little help you need to get through the day, like, all right, I forgot about that. There's other families that are new to homeschooling, and that is the intention of this group, someone who is new or just starting, so that there are no wrong questions, there are no bad questions. Maybe someone's already going through something you haven't even considered yet. So it's a great platform to learn what other people are doing, learn what's possible, and build community. The trainings are based on interest. So I'll do polls to see, what is our current vibe? What do we need the most? And that's how the trainings are. The Facebook group is free. Once in the group, you'll be on the email list. So as I do other trainings outside of the group, you would be the first to know. And you always have that feature of the private message. So if you're in a moment right now, you might not want to go public with your question or your concern, you can definitely reach out to me through the DMs or catch me on Instagram, which is polished_parents, because I can communicate with you there until you're ready to join the group.
And if parents already know, like, hey, I really need Cindy right now, they can go right to your website and book a call with you. Is that right?
Yeah, so that's just polishedparents.com, and you'll see a little bit more about my background, what I offer. I do provide one-on-one coaching so that it's just about you and your family, and we can go at the pace that is appropriate for you. And maybe some things you already know because you've already been homeschooling or researching. So it's not like a program where you have to sit through something you've already heard. It's a unique conversation between you and I, and we'll develop where you want to go. I also do speaking events. So if you have a micro school or a co-op or a cluster of parents that you know and work with and you want to pull them all together, we can do trainings on social emotional learning, growth mindset, how to set up your room, and we can do things with the kids involved to help them develop a healthy mindset. And then, of course, you can sign up for the Facebook group there or book a free 15-minute call anytime, just to have your questions answered or see if you and I would be a great partnership.
That is wonderful. I think you're going to be busy
I
once
hope so.
people hear this interview. Okay, so all of that, I just want to recap just a couple things that stood out for me as super beneficial. Everything you said is super beneficial, but the service that you provide is really help guide a new homeschooler through that journey. You help them with that unschooling or deschooling. You help them figure out their child's learning styles and what they're passionate about so that they can be successful from the start, which is awesome. And then you also help guide them on how to set up, like, all the logistics of it. How do I set up my homeschooling area in the house, or what does that look like, and what are the resources and materials and activities to have, which again is super beneficial. So I hope parents reach out to you, but I just wanted to recap that as like two really highlights that I heard you say. And I want to leave parents on a note of, if they forget everything you said, which I know they're not gonna, because this is all things they need. If they forget everything though, and you want them to remember one thing from our talk today, what would it be?
Really, that self-discovery or the discovery of who your child is. And that is by asking more questions and making less statements. So I'm not talking about an interrogation, more about, how are you feeling? Would you like to do this or that? And be careful on those questions, because as parents, we tend to be cheerleaders, and we might say, hey, it's Friday. Aren't you really excited for the day? And your child might be thinking, oh, they're expecting excitement out of me. Okay, yeah, that's great. Well, that wouldn't be authentic. So be careful you're not leading in your questions, and think of your questions as discovery. You just want to know more and realize that realistically, we're not happy all the time. So the middle of the road, or what we would call a negative response, is really information, because then you can say, okay, why do you feel that way? What happened that made you feel that way? So you can change the mood or the setting. So I always think of the cartoon with the peanuts, where the teacher just sounds like rah, 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 rah. And I think as parents, when we're talking at our kids and we think we're giving advice, that's what they're hearing, because their minds are spinning of, how do I digest this? What does this mean to me? But if you ask more questions, they have to participate, because there is an answer, and you're really going to discover the gold of what makes your child tick or fearful.
That's beautiful. For every parent listening, that is beautiful advice. All right, Cindy, thank you so much for being here. Parents that are thinking about or wanting to begin their homeschooling journey, go to polishedparents.com, book a call with Cindy, and then hop into her Facebook group too, and get that connection with other parents. Thanks for being here, Cindy. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. Thank you. Can't
Take
wait
care.
to meet more of my new friends.
I can't wait either. I think, I'm going to be talking to my kids now. Do you want to homeschool? Yeah. Oh,
You're going to be questioning, not talking.
I won't make it a leading question. Yeah. Have you thought about homeschooling? Okay, I'm going to work on that. Thanks for being here, Cindy.
Of course. Thank you.
Take care.